The sure way to start anything, as I was taught, is to come to rest. So before we start speaking, let's connect with silence. Just before, as I was walking up the hill this morning, there's rather a sort of complicated negotiation going on in my life, which involves sort of law and all sort of worldly, shall we do this, shall we do that? And in marked contrast to that, I walked up the hill with absolutely nothing. I didn't have to prepare anything. I didn't carry any notes with me, no bits of paper, no agenda, nothing like that at all, no plans. How can this be? Why is one life apparently, like the government really, so full of negotiations and planning and papers about this and that? And this work that we are engaged in requires absolutely nothing of the sort. All it requires is that we are simply present. Feet on the floor, bottom on the chair. Listen and look. And my dears, if I have anything to give you this morning, it is just that. Because when we are present, the infinite is available. And I thought of the instruction that Jesus gave to his disciples when he sent them out into the world. He said, "Take with you neither script nor purse." I think if I remember correctly. In other words, no preparation, no planning. And where you are received, you will be received, and where you are not, then don't worry. Brush the dust off your feet and carry on. Now doesn't this just sum up what we're about? This is what I call, at least what I was taught to call, the work, the real work, capital W. And if you don't mind, while you're here, I will include you, because I presume that's what you've come for, really. In contrast to what the world calls work. Which, of course, involves negotiations about money and all this and that of what we call ordinary life. So I don't know what I'm going to say to you, dear. I've got no notes, no agenda, no anything. I stand, as it were, naked before you. naked and unashamed. And interestingly, when I learned to meditate in a school of meditation in London, and in the early years of the school, somebody asked a question, what's it all for? Why do we meditate? What's it all for? And the answer came, your job is to provide the rest. And how can we rest unless we rest ourselves? Peace comes from peaceful people, doesn't it? Peaceful circumstances. We can't make it. But what we can do is just remove the obstacle of me, of restless me.
Can we ask a question?
Of course, yeah. Hope you will.
So I started to learn to meditate through the School of Philosophy when I was living in Australia, and I've always found trying to do the mantra meditation quite tricky. Whereas mindful meditation, when you're more sort of focusing on your senses, I've always found that easier. But I remember they used to offer these classes where you'd have a one-to-one session with a meditation expert, if you like, that would answer your questions when you were struggling to meditate using the mantra. And I think I attended 2 of those while I was in Sydney, and I've since continued with that when back in the UK 3 years ago in Guildford. But I still continue to find that difficult, and I never found these so-called correctional lessons very helpful. So is it me? Am I just the sort of person that finds it difficult to do? And I suppose the other question is, how do you know when you're doing it right? Because I've struggled with the long meditation sessions in the church. I suppose half an hour is what I usually do.
Yes.
At a push.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to know how you would advise someone who said they've been trying for a few years but find it rather difficult.
Yes. Adam dear, can't you move your chair a little bit to one side? Your face is totally blocked off. That's better. Now I can see you. Yes. Yes, well, I was taught to meditate at the same school as Catherine. And it was a little offshoot of her school called the School of Meditation, but it was from the same authority, from the same tradition. And I also went through this business of being checked, which is what we use this one-to-one session. And similarly, I remember there were at least as many not so good ones as there's what I might call a good one. I thought, and because I was required, I was living in Bakewell, and my first farm was in Bakewell, and I had to travel down to London for these checks, and all the paraphernalia of providing for the animals, and going down to London just for 20 minutes with not always a very good checker seemed rather disproportionate to me. Anyway, I stuck with it and did it. But I soon realised that as soon as I began to make preparations, and it sort of turned my mind in that direction. So that's really when the lesson began. The whole business of putting the work first. Even at times like when the farm was crying out for attention. It was quite a discipline, so I'm glad I persevered with it. Because those that have it all easy don't usually progress so well as those who have to make a big effort.
Interesting.
Well, Catherine, yes, well, these two aspects of meditation, they're not really, they're just like two sides of a coin. One's what we call the inner turn, which is when you turn inwards with the help of a mantra or whatever you use, or different method. The other's the outer turn, when you simply listen and look and pay attention to where you are. In other words, the outer circumstances become like a mantra for you. Pay attention to me, and then you'll stop thinking, won't you? If you're eating and you're enjoying your food, chances are you won't be thinking. You know? Or a bird flies past, you suddenly notice it, and in that moment you'll stop thinking. Because your attention is elsewhere. And that's the whole principle of meditation, that you simply give your attention something to focus on. And if you focus on that, it can't be thinking about that, which is all your worries and your problems. It's rather like waking up. You know, there you are in a dream, and you wake up, and what happens to the dream? It just evaporates, doesn't it? And so it is with thinking. If you turn your thoughts to an alternative, especially a preferable alternative, then you'll stop worrying, won't you? But of course we usually just turn to this alternative within a half-hearted way, so we end up sort of half and half. That's why the key instruction when we learn to meditate is listen with full attention to the mantra, or as full as one can. You know, normally we find it very difficult to give full attention to anything. We're so accustomed to being here, there and everywhere that we're it is the way our life is these days. But when you really get the bit between your teeth, then you just sail along. That's why it's very helpful to have some love motivation in your life. Because when you love something, you usually give your attention to it. Oh, you mustn't suppress anything, Adam. That's violence.
Yes,
This is not the way, dear. Anything that's aggressive, anything should, must, ought, suppression, getting rid of, all these dreadful things that we say about poor little thoughts. What's wrong with them, dear? There's nothing wrong with our thoughts. They're totally natural. They're just like clouds in the sky. They serve their purpose. That's what's called the discursive mind is for. Now, you don't get rid of anything. What for? All you've got to do is just turn away, turn to something else. And then there's no problem. I know it really... It hurts me when people say, how do I get rid of thoughts? What for?
Well, they torment, don't they? There is a sort of tormenting going on.
Tormenting? Well, that can happen, certainly, my dear. Well, that's why it's very good to have... That's why people turn to the biscuit tin, isn't it? Takes their attention off it. Yeah. Well, dear, think of meditation as a more healthy alternative to the biscuit tin.
That's great.
It's a new diet.
Gin alternative.
We understand each other.
Any form of criticism or judgment is to be avoided. So stop thinking negatively about anything. Because what you do, all you do is magnify it, don't you? I thought most people wanted to be happy.
Most people do, but I don't know anyone who doesn't have negative thoughts. It's having control over those thoughts that's important. And being able to...
Beware of control. Control's aggressive.
Okay, maybe not control.
Don't control, dear. Don't take a light rain if you must have any rain at all, dear. I know we're obsessed with this idea of controlling and doing it. We think we by our own efforts can become enlightened. or can achieve spiritual consciousness or something. So we go at it, you know, with a sledgehammer. Break down all these terrible thoughts and things, negative emotions.
Yeah, fight them off.
Think of the clouds, love. Look, the top side of the cloud is light, isn't it? And the underside's dark. There you are. You know, nice sunny thoughts or dark thoughts. Cloud's just a cloud, dear. The choice really is to get into the balloon. And the balloon takes you beyond, you see. Just putting into practice what I said when I first started speaking, you see. My thoughts, what are my thoughts on this, are at one level, mental level. And yet, that's still in the realm of effort, isn't it? It requires some sort of effort to generate what do you think about it. Now, if we just find this silence, it's completely effortless, isn't it? It's just here. Now, inside that effortless silence, which is listening really, we connect with by listening. You make this comment. Well, of course, on the there are levels of consciousness, from the physical to the mental to the, what's the word, to higher consciousness. And on this, as it were, this range of steps, there are all sorts of sensations and sorts of levels of manifestations. From the effortless to the effort required to get your body up the hill, for example. So you're asking about one of these intermediate levels. Well, we can spend an awful lot of life, in fact our whole lives, trying to analyze the intermediate. To what avail? It's all contained within this effortlessness. So really the universal answer to what do I do about it, or what do you think about it, is that there's always a beyond. And the practice of meditation consists of this, which is letting go. Letting go the intermediate, whatever it is. And just discovering what's beyond it. So if there's any sensation of discomfort or effort or stress or strain, you can always just do that and discover what's beyond it. We are insatiably curious about these intermediate manifestations because at that moment we forget about the beyond and we don't know any better. So there we are, struggling with these, is it right or wrong? All these questions. Come back, come back. Feet on the ground, bottom on the chair. Just listen. And you hear these inner voices. What about this? What about that? Just listen beyond. And you find the rest. And you don't need even to believe me or not, because here and now, it's an experience, isn't it? Listen, there's the church clock, that's passing time. here today and gone tomorrow. And it's all held in this eternal stillness, in eternity. So we have the transience of this life and immortality or eternity of the spiritual world. One comes to pass and the other is, that's why we're told to trust, to seek first the kingdom of God, which is this, which is spirit, and everything else falls into place. And it's always, the opportunity is now. Do you understand, dearie? And if it makes us cry, you see, that means you're getting the connection. Because it's not really of the intellect, is it? It's of what's called the heart, which is a deeper level of understanding. So, blessed are those that weep. Well, you see how important it is for me to have a question. I just need prompting, you see, and you don't know what may arise from it. So, to this journey there is no end, because it's infinite. So, looking back over a long life, it's hard to say where it started. And as you've been saying, you get glimpses, you get intimations, you get all sorts of indications, don't you, that somehow turns you in this direction, and which is very often contrary to what most of those around you are thinking, which often leads us into awful stages of isolation and loneliness, and other people saying, why can't you just be normal, and all these sort of things which are common to those that venture this way, including our own self-criticism and doubts over what it is that's tearing us apart. But gradually confidence grows, but it's a long, long process, darlings. I'm afraid it's a lifetime job. I can't give you instant enlightenment at all. Because although it's easy enough, in a little group like this, you go outside and you'll forget about it. Immediately the world will come steal you away. And that's why practice is required, and the one absolute prerequisite of any progress in meditation is you've got to practice it. Practice makes perfect, and without it, nothing much happens. Darling, we all start as beginners. It takes at what point you become skillful. I'm still learning, dear. You never stop. So don't worry about that. We go, start off, we are where we are, and that's quite enough. So don't worry, but you come on a retreat like this, maybe this will give you another little boost along the way, hopefully. But do ask questions about your practice. I'll help you as I can. Here we are, 10 people in this room. But how many stillnesses are there? Right, correct. How many stillnesses is there in the whole world? If we're all contained in stillness, isn't the whole world? Now, let's use another word. Silence, stillness, space, spirit. What is spirit? Shall we be brave and say God? What's the difference? Where does one end and the other begin? God is with us, right here. You can never be closer to God than right where we are. Now then, what does God do if he does anything? God holds the whole wide world in his hand. This is obvious. It's like the stillness is holding us in its hand, isn't it? So when you merge totally in that still presence, how many others do you need? How many other people do you need? The whole world's contained, isn't it? In fact, what happens to what we call others? Are there any others? Or is it all just one? And what else is God? Almighty, all-knowing, all-merciful, all-providing. These words aren't just sort of meaningless. At this level of separate you and me, we think, oh God, we want everyone to do this. Well, and I've got another group of 10 people come to meditate today. Great, we count numbers. But in the real world, you see, all this is just really kid stuff. It's just, all this is people who are absent from the presence of God. Lost souls out in the Never land. Come back, my dears. Feet on the ground. Come back to where we are. Connect with the One. Now it all begins to make sense, doesn't it? The shepherd gathers the sheep. They're all back home, safe where they belong. But you see, there are steps along the way. At this level, it's all effort. Gather numbers and organise them and have meetings and all this sort of thing. In the real world, it's the Lord provides. It's effortless. So, absolute rule for meditation: if it takes effort, you're doing it wrong. But you can't really meditate wrong. That's not possible. You know how it is when you sleep. Well, we don't, because that's the whole point, isn't it? We don't know what happens when we go to sleep. But the clever people who somehow research it say that in sleep you sort of do this. We talk of deep sleep, and they say that you dream as you're coming out of deep sleep into your last few moments before you wake up, don't they? But if you say someone, how did they sleep? The chances are they'll say, oh, I was dreaming. You know, they describe to you the last few moments of their experience. And so it is when you ask someone, how was that meditation? They always tell you about the last few moments. They think that they're telling you how the half hour or the hour and a half passed. That's what they believe. But they're saying, I was just thinking all the time. But actually, if you observe people meditating, you can tell when they start thinking, because there's usually a little flutter of movement in their faces, which occurs in the last few moments when they rise up out of deep meditation into what we call awakening. But because you can't describe deep meditation, like you can't describe deep sleep, because you go beyond words. It's like when you go up through the clouds, you see, in an aeroplane. How do you describe what's beyond the clouds? You can't, it's just space. So, like this morning, you see, we were standing around there, and you weren't talking. Well, when I joined you, there was nothing to say. We were all still. So I don't need to ask you. I know you all experience at least some rest, which is mission accomplished. And if I say, how was it? You'll all say, oh, I was thinking, I had something or other, or stresses or strains or something. And what's important is that there's beyond, you see, beyond this mental, what you can describe. It's not what can be described that's important, it's what cannot be described. And that you can't, it doesn't exist, does it? Ha ha. Try and remember this, just that simple gesture. It is so descriptive. Yeah. All our problems because of this, you see. This is forgetting. This is forgiving. And I assure you, Catherine, you wouldn't be here now this morning if the work wasn't working in you.
No, that's true.
There's a story from the Upanishads, which you probably know better than me. There was an arrow maker called, I think, Dattatreya, wasn't it, if I say it correctly, who was making arrows in his shop on the street. And a procession passed by in the street, and he didn't raise his head, didn't seem to notice it. He just went on making his arrow. And so he was asked, why didn't you notice the profession? And he said, oh, I didn't know there was one. I was just making my arrow. You see, that was given to us in the School of Meditation as an example, you see, of full attention. And when you give full attention to something, you don't notice anything else. But this is exactly what meditation does. Meditation endeavours to give attention, you see, to one thing, and then all the bothersome things that you don't want to attend to, they just go out of your attention. And when something isn't in your attention, it doesn't exist, does it? That's why it's a good idea, if you can, first of all, to express negative emotion less and less. You know, if you're aware of talking critically of somebody, just stop, and you'll immediately, that whole situation will diminish. Because the more you give attention to something, the bigger it gets, doesn't it? This is how monsters grow. You know, it's very commonly fueled by fear. We dwell on it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But to the person next to you, it doesn't even exist. So we carry around these burdens, self-made burdens and fears and things, and weigh us down. Oh, yeah, we're all in the same cart with this. I have the same problem. It's only practice that one hopes to do it less and less. But then you pick up more and more, because you then begin to realise you've not only got yourself to sort out, but you carry the whole world around. So you see the whole scene gets bigger and bigger. That is the work, when the work begins to work on the universal scale, of course. So there's plenty to go at. Well, when you sit to meditate for the half hour or so, whatever you meditate, you endeavour to turn inward, follow your mantra. When you turn out for the rest of the day, you try to be present. Dead simple, just 2 turns, in and out. And during the day, if you're sitting in a bus and you want something to do, you can close your eyes and say the mantra. You can say it any time, anywhere. So you can get used to this inner and outer. And gradually the difference will merge and you'll realize that the same is within as it is without. And the one practice helps the other. This deep rest is here and is there. Well, the mantra is like a mental handrail. Look, this is a mantra. When you go into a cave, a dark place, or a dark room, you hold on to the wall or you hold on to something, don't you? Like that. You get to keep a hold of it. And when you're confident of the way, you just hold it very lightly, don't you? Just touch it with your fingers. Sometimes you hardly need it at all. You just occasionally just remind yourself that it's there. That's what a mantra is. Mantra is like a mental handrail. It's there if you want it. Yes, I was taught with the mantra, but of course mantras change and you can adapt it. You can do anything with it. It's not an absolute rule. There's nothing, It's just a spiritual tool. The handrail doesn't matter what the handrail's made of, does it? It's something to hold on to. Let me ask you a question. If it embarrasses you, you don't need to really tell me. What do you really love, Catherine?
Lots of things.
Well, if you think of something you really love, something big, not just chocolate or something silly, what you really love, well, it's not a bad idea to meditate on that, is it? Then you'll find it easy. Those of you that have a religion and have a holy man, Jesus, or I know the name, I've forgotten it.
Guru Nanak.
That's right, Guru Nanak. If you feel devotion to that, well, not a bad idea to use that as your mantra. There's a very ancient practice that the Jesus prayer, which uses the name of Jesus for those that love Jesus. Well, that's a wonderful mantra. There's nothing better than that. Use that if you like. Well, there we are, dears. The problem of mantras solved. But you see, it's just to get us started. You see, just like this handrail. You see, to start with. There we are. You hold on to it. You don't want to lose her, do you, or him, or whoever. But see, when you get confident. Well, it's like when you're walking with the person you love. At first you hold them, you can't let them out of your arms, can you? And then when you get more confident, you just walk happily side by side. All you just need to do is look at each other from time to time. So it is with these mantras. To start with, they're really important. You need to, work at it. But then when you get confident, you can just sail away. We don't always need to keep a grip on things. That's relax. Melt into the arms of the beloved, you see. It's that melting that's the freedom. Then all the effort, you forget about it. Good, well, we're sailing along, aren't we? Any more questions? Still in silence, there are no images, are there? Or rather, all images are contained within the bigger. So whatever you start off with, just go beyond it. Nothing wrong with anything to begin with. Churches are full of images, aren't they? They've served their purpose. But if you stay in the realm of images, you'll stay in the realm of images. Go beyond. So that's why sound actually is much better than having a visual image. So the name is much better because the sound will become subtler and subtler and subtler. You might start off, for example, by saying the name Jesus aloud. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, or something like this. Lord Jesus Christ. Now this, because you say it aloud, it'll be more effective in bringing you into the present and focusing your mind. If you start it off too subtly, then it hasn't really got the energy to counteract all the thoughts. So say it quite loudly, if you like, to start with. Lord Jesus Christ, Lord Jesus Christ. And then you say it quieter, Lord Jesus Christ. Say it quieter and quieter. So you're saying it within yourself. See, that'll bring you to deep rest. If you listen to it quietly, you see, first of all with a whisper and then even less than a whisper, then you'll find it naturally taken you to that place of deep depth within yourself. That's how it works. It's dead simple. Just like that, you see. Just follow it. Before you know where you are. And when you forget, of course you will do, after a few minutes you'll start thinking again. Oh, I meant to be meditating. Do it again. And again. And again. To find it. You're at rest. The Jesus prayer, it's in the full form of it. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me. And then a sinner. Now a sinner is very simple. I don't know whether you've seen the video where I try to describe it. Like, you know, there we are, there's the light. And in the light, I can see, can't I? My face is lit. But when I turn from the light, I'm in shadow. And the world is dark, full of problems. I don't see. So sin is simply this, turning away. And all you've got to do is turn back to the light and the darkness. What happens to it? God, you forget about it. So when you say, if you keep seeing Lord Jesus, you'll forget about all the problems. That's why they say Jesus saves, because he is the Saviour. He'll pull us out of all your problems and difficulties. Come unto me, he says. Come unto me and rest. That's why it works. What a lovely look of pure attention you're giving me, Gurpreet. My word, you see. Thank you, my dear. Think of a phrase like, be sensible. Use your common sense. You see, if we lose our common sense, you're in peril. Common sense is what? It's looking, listening. Well, they're the main ones we use, aren't they? Looking and listening, feeling. Being sensible. And being stupid is just, it's this, isn't it? It's getting lost in the head. Lost in thought, which is, I can almost say, is the normal human condition. It's lost in the thought. And the contrast to that, this is common sense when you're connected with feet on the ground, bottom on the chair. You're aware where you are. And seeing and hearing. When we really see and hear and feel, life becomes altogether, you know, suddenly comes into reality, doesn't it? In this world with people looking for security, aren't they? Security and peace. And what's more secure and peaceful than the floor? The desire for this work, the desire for truth, or whatever we call it, desire for God, desire for, this is the motivation that keeps one going, so there's nothing wrong with that, dear. Harness it, it's a blessing. You know, the only requirement for this work is that one should want it. And that's what keeps us going. People that are half-hearted about it and, you know, don't really care, not prepared to make the effort, well, They'll stay where they are, won't they? So you're blessed to have that desire. Thank God.